station, 1370 WOCA. Ocala.
All right, 24 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this beautiful Friday morning. I think it's 52 degrees out there last time I looked, and cool temperatures coming back in tonight. Last week, all we were talking about was golf, and now we finally have Jim Beckett on the phone so we can talk about golf from somebody who can actually talk about it. Although we did have Tom Schmitz, who knew a lot about golf, too. But between Robin and I, we didn't have a clue what we were talking about. Jim Beckett is on the phone. He is the founder of the Golf College and a PGA professional, and haven't seen him in a while, though, so at least he's on the phone today. Let's talk golf, Jim. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Larry. I've been sick for a month.
Oh, my. How you feeling now?
And I feel good, and we have a special guest today. It's Mr. Frank Pleasure, who's a PGA professional, and he was the co-director for the golf school in Stowe, Vermont with me the whole time we had the school.
Is that right? And is the school up and running again?
Well, we're at a new facility now. We're at Stonecrest, and we're probably not going to run a school, but we have some extremely interesting clinics that are a little softer for the average golfer so they can learn and absorb in a more comfortable environment. And Frank's going to be joining us over there. And Frank's on the phone now. Say hello, Frank.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Frank. How are you? Are you both in the same place?
Yes, I am. So Jim and I are going to get back together and provide golfers in the area with some top-notch education.
So did either of you go to the LPGA event that was happening last week?
I did, yes.
And what were your thoughts?
I was very, very impressed with just everything from the quality of the golfers and to the quality of the golf course. But Jim and I both have played there before, and were very impressed with the golf course itself. But yeah, I was very impressed with the entire scene. Yes.
And I think part of that whole thing was to give some exposure to the products that are made by the Coates Company. Were you able to look at any of the golf clubs that they make, and what were your thoughts on the equipment itself?
Well, it looked professionally done, not only from design, excuse me, but to manufacturing. It was very, very well done. My concern is that it's only geared towards ladies. I would have liked to hit some just to see how they felt, but very, very nice design and well manufactured.
So the thing I don't understand about the ladies' golf equipment, if there's a man who weighs, let's say, 120 pounds, a smaller guy, right, and a woman who weighs 120 pounds, wouldn't they use the same club? Wouldn't their sex have nothing to do with it?
Your horse sense is very good, Larry, and always has been, and you're a smart guy. Frank and I have never looked at golf as a gender thing. If you're female, you're a golfer. If you're male, you're a golfer. You're a golfer. So equipment is nothing more than tools. So the amount of strength you have, the physical size you have, the speed at which you can swing dictates what kind of club you should have. So a great number of those gals that played on the tour do not play with, quote, ladies' clubs. And ladies' clubs came on the scene many years ago when we didn't have the modern woman, and ladies, did bridge on one day at the country club, did charity events on another day. They were social members. Now we have the modern woman, and there are women golfers now who swing larger, harder, and faster than men. So the idea of men's and ladies' clubs is a misconception entirely.
So technically, the clubs are, I guess, designed for the woman. Aesthetically, are they designed for the women too? Are they pink or something? I mean, what makes them ladies' clubs then?
9 times out of 10, a ladies' club is shorter, lighter, less powerful, has a weaker motor, has a pretty flower on the top of it, and has imperfect, incorrect, wrong-size grips. They are not functional. So many ladies are terribly doing a disservice to get ladies' clubs.
And when you were at the event, did you go to the event, Jim, last week?
I did. I was still not up to par as much as I wanted to be, and I knew Frank and I played that course probably 30, 40, 50 times back before it was with this current ownership. So if you've been to a golf course and you're looking at it on TV, you get so much more information than if you look at TV and you've never been to the course. So I was able to, like the 17th hole is a particular hole that's uniquely designed and can be a real bear for even an expert golfer. And that last day it showed to be the very same.
So have you had any increase in the numbers of people, maybe women especially, who are asking about tee times and all that? In other words, the residual effect of having such a big event?
Not dramatically, and yet the impact is still there. In other words, it may not be something that you see that's that much volume instantaneously, but the mere fact that it was there is a great thing for the community. The fact that many people have never been able to witness in person professional golfers, and they are very different from local golfers who are very good. So it was great to have that exposure and for people to be able to see. And of course, nowadays there are ladies who can out-hit the men.
Oh, really? So in golfing, you both have been professional golfers. Is it distracting to have an audience?
Actually, no. If you're going to be a tour player, you learn to blank that out. And of course, something they do that some of the professional golfers just assume they wouldn't is they always have those volunteers with those quiet signs. Sometimes dead quiet is more disturbing than having a little...
Oh, really?
Well, but the professional golfer learns to cope with that. If they don't, then they're not a professional golfer. So it's sometimes they overdo it in an effort to try to give them the respect they think they need. But the volunteers, are great. The tournaments couldn't function without the volunteers. So it's a traveling circus, with you seeing people who can do that part of the game to an expert level.
There was one story in the news this week I wanted to ask you about. It was not about the event here in Ocala, but it was a caddy who wanted to be compensated for wearing advertisements on his jacket or something, some kind of a garment that he wears.
That's definitely inappropriate and normally not recognized or not encouraged.
What, to advertise or to get paid?
I'm sorry?
Which is not appropriate, to be paid for wearing the garment or to wear the garment in the first place?
Not to wear it in the first place. In other words, that's a professional event. The sponsors that sponsor that, the players and the sponsors who are supporting the tournament, that's inappropriate to wear some other kind of an advertisement trying to take advantage of that.
But I guess we're seeing a lot of that, yeah. So what's new with the golf college and all the things that you're doing?
Well, Frank and I had a meeting today. The Stonecrest Golf Course, which is where I'm located now and where I live, has a new ownership as of this week, and the company seems to be initially here extremely professional and very successful, and our members and residents where I live are pretty excited about the prospect of having the facility be operated in a more professional manner. And of course, if I'm able to negotiate with them to the point where they like what I'm doing, we'll contribute greatly to enhancing the facility and making it be the vibrant, positive place that it should be. It's a beautiful course. It has an excellent clubhouse, maybe one of the best in the area. So we're kind of high right now that we're going to be able to initiate a program that Frank and I did at our golf schools in the past, which were very successful, and that way have something we can offer the golfers that we know is beneficial and going to help them enjoy the game more. Do what we do as professionals.
Yeah. Jim, we need to take a little break. Jim Beckett is, of course, on the phone, and Frank Pleasure is with him, both down at Stonecrest, and we can give you information about the golf course down there. But first, we need to take a break. Also, the phone lines are open. If you want to call Jim and Frank, the number is 622-9622, 622-WOCA. It is February 6th, and so when we come back, I'll ask about any Valentine's Day golfing specials that are out there. We'll take that little break and be right back in 2.5 minutes. This is WOCA.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. A nice day today, mostly sunny skies and breezy. Maybe a shower along the coast for a time, the high 63 to 67. And partly cloudy tonight, lows ranging from 38 in a few inland spots to about 50 along the coast. Tomorrow, more sun and clouds and milder in the afternoon, the high 67 to 71. On Sunday, a pleasant day with plenty of sunshine, the high 71 to 75. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Your home is safe, or is it? AA Lock, Dock, and Security. The name has been a staple in Ocala since 1985. Do you have the right equipment in place to have peace of mind when you are at home or away? AA Lock, Dock, and Security has the right people to install and monitor your home or business. Call today for a free on-site security analysis. Call 867-1965. AA Lock, Dock, and Security, 219 Northwest 10th Street, 867-1965.
Real estate is the largest and most personal investment that any of us will ever make. Be sure to tune in Tuesdays at 10 a.m. when Bob Kennedy, owner of Berkshire Hathaway Home Team Realty, will be answering your questions and discussing real estate. So remember, that's Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Call 622-9622 with your questions. It pays to be an informed buyer or seller. This is news you can use from Berkshire Hathaway Home Team Realty and your friends here at WOCA. All right, 12 minutes before 12 o'clock, and let's return now to Jim Beckett and Frank Pleasure. They're down in Stonecrest, and we're talking about golf. If you have a question during the course of this, don't hesitate to call. We want your calls, so call on 622-9622. There was a story real quickly, Jim. Charlie Sifford passed away. He was 92 years old. They called him the Jackie Robinson of golf.
I have had the pleasure of meeting him and playing with him many years ago, and he was an outstanding gentleman and an excellent golfer, and this was growing up in an era when it was a little tougher for that gender to interact. But he was a leader and a positive influence on golf.
And you played with him? Is that what you said?
Oh yeah, several times.
Oh wow,
very very talented golfer. And kind of before his time, if you know what I mean.
The photograph of him, he does not look like a young man, so he must have played right up to the end.
Oh, he did. He never quit.
Must have smoked cigars right up to the end, too.
Right.
It shows him.
Larry, Frank's probably going to be with me more on a regular basis.
Okay, you're breaking up a little bit. Jim? Okay, we lost you, Jim. Can you hear me? Okay, the sound is not there. Is Frank?
I can hear you.
Oh, Frank is there. Okay, Frank. Yeah, I don't know what happened to Jim. Are you in the same room with Jim?
We're sitting here side by side.
Wow.
Yeah, we're sitting in the same.
No,
I don't have the background that he had. He's had a lot of background with junior golf and in particular high school golf. And definitely in the ladies tour. So he's interacted with a number of the lady professionals. That's what the reason I wanted him on today, because I figured you'd be asking about that tournament. So I'm going to let him just tell you a little bit about what he's seen when the ladies tour was struggling more and some of the effort he did to help them and help the tour grow like it has.
Well, Larry, starting back with Jan Stevenson is my first brush with the LPGA. Gorgeous lady, nice lady, and a great player. She helped the tour in more than one way. If you remember back, that calendar she made was a positive, I think, for the tour. But a lot of ladies looked at it as being too feminine. Yeah.
And what?
He was down in the Cocoa Beach, Titusville area for a while, living there while playing on the LPGA tour. A very nice lady, very approachable, which is nice because I don't think the PGA players today are as approachable as the ladies are.
Well, that was the comment that one of the guys from the afternoon show, Tom Schmitz, he was actually at the event and was calling in. And the one question I asked him, "What's your impression of it?" And I think his biggest impression was that the ladies were more willing to talk to him being with the media than in events he's covered that were all male.
Right, and they're willing to talk to the patrons as well. It was. I had an experience watching Cheyenne Woods host a little lady, maybe 10 years old, signed an autograph, took a picture, couldn't do enough for this lady. And this little girl, giggly and bouncy, and she just was having so much fun. And Cheyenne Woods made the effort to make her feel that way.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was impressive to see that. I've known a gal who's just retired, Michelle Redman, had a mediocre career, but yet was on the LPGA tour and made a living. Another lady that I know who is now working through an injury is Vicki Hurst, another gal who, with $1 million smile, who's willing to go out of her way to help and entertain the fans. Again, she's working out of a hand injury. She had an operation, but I expect to see her back within the next, by the end of the year anyway. So these are all ladies that are approachable, fun to be next to. They have no airs with regards to a pompous attitude. They're down to earth ladies.
Right. They support the tour and they support golf in general.
Will there be a day when the men and the women play together? It seems like their aptitudes are similar.
The women would be more acceptable of that than the men, and they did have a tournament, which I don't know if it's still on, called
J.C. Penney over in Tampa.
Yeah.
It's been a few years now, but they used to play two-person teams, a lady and a man, against other two-person teams. It was fun to watch. The golfing public liked it, and I think the guys were willing to do it, but I don't think they had passion for it. I think the ladies felt that, and so they made a stronger effort for it. But it was only 1 week, even though everybody thinks that's a lot of time. But the guys, I think, thought, well, they were missing a tournament of big money that they could play. But it would have promoted golf tremendously. And did when they did it. They stopped it for whatever reason. We probably never the real reason, but had they both, the men and the women, been positive about it, it would be going on today, and it'd be a great thing.
Oh, is that right? Now, I was one kind of a side note. I wasn't aware that the caddy did more than just carry the clubs. This came up last week when we were talking about it, and it just never occurred to me that this was like the right-hand person of the golfer.
The caddy is no longer a staple. There are no more caddies. If you're out there with a professional golfer, you're a psychologist, a cheerleader, a teacher, a coach. You wear multiple hats, and quite frankly, they would not play as good as they do if they didn't have that complete support team. So that single person does multiple jobs to support that golfer.
Are there caddies available at the golf course, like down in Stonecrest?
No, caddies are a thing of the past because of carts.
Oh, I see. I see.
Young people nowadays, every era goes through different things. Young people today will not consider that fun, interesting to do. In general, there's an exception to the rule, but in general, kids are busy now in a whole different way. If it's not technology, they're not terribly interested. It requires a little more passion and get up and go. Who'd want to carry a bag around a golf course? I thought it was wonderful. That's my upbringing. I caddied for bad golfers, and then as I became a better caddy, better golfers asked me to caddy for them, and then I actually caddied twice for professionals on the tour. That learning experience set the foundation for me to understand golf from the bottom to the top, and makes me a better person, a better golfer, and a better teacher because of that background.
I bet it does. Oh, yeah. So the caddies of today, since they are serving so many functions, how does one become a caddy, and how do the golfers find the good ones?
The caddy has to be self-promotion. Learn it. Normally, the average caddy is a good golfer themselves, and maybe they don't have the skill set or the skill level to get to the tour. And if they're that much passion for the game, if you become a top-notch caddy, you have to kind of roll with the punches, do the traveling and all, but they can make a pretty substantial, comfortable living. They're paid well.
They get a percentage? Is that how that works?
I'm sorry?
Do they get a percentage of the winnings?
Well, generally speaking, the PGA will set a minimum caddy fee. So that's a requirement. I don't think any of them make just that.
Okay.
Most of the time they have a private contract with, if they're playing with a superstar or playing with a journeyman pro, they usually have a set fee that they get and a bonus based on the amount of money they win.
Jim, we have a phone call. Again, Jim Beckett and Frank Pleasure are on the phone down at Stonecrest. We're talking about golf. Good morning. Thank you for calling and for waiting. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning. Are there any pro golfer, retired golfers that we know of that are being caddies now?
I'll let Frank talk to that. I don't know of any personally myself.
Any golfers that are looking for caddies?
No, they're retired players that are caddies.
Oh, not that I know of, no. But that doesn't mean there aren't. I don't know of any.
I will tell you where most of those, if they stay active in the business, they become coaches because they have been there and done that, so they can look at another player, give them their history and their experience, and give them some advice on how to be more efficient, handle different situations. So if they're still active, they're either announcers or they're coaches, and there's a lot of them around.
I was watching the women's tournament in town here last week. I didn't think I'd seen any women caddies. Is that a true statement?
No, there are a number of women caddies. Some of the guys have their wives even caddying, but there are not as plentiful as the men. But there's been a number of women caddies, and frankly, there's a gal from England who has caddied her entire life for several of the top-notch golfers, and I don't remember her name right offhand, but she's, you know what I'm talking about? Can't think of her name, but she kind of led the ladies into the fact that it was okay for a gal to caddy.
Wow.
How long they have the strength to carry that bag, and they like that. They're getting their exercise and all.
Yeah. Jim, Jim, we're out of time. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but I hope you're feeling better, and I hope we get to see you in the studio soon. Thank you for what you do, and Frank, thank you. Jim, give us a phone number real quick.
Phone number is 352-470-3876.
Okay, excellent. Call us here at the station if you need that repeated. We'll be glad to do that. Jim Beckett, Frank Pleasure, thank you both so much for being on the air with us, and stay healthy.
Thanks for having us.
All right. We'll be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. The market's in positive territory after the monthly report out showing 257,000 jobs created in January. That